Okay, we're back. Hey, so I hope that introduction to the class, you know, left you feeling somewhat interested. I hope you also took a pause in between the videos and like stop for a second to think about stuff. Also, maybe to stretch, do some neck stretches, because we are all getting back problems because we're not going outside anymore. Um, so I want to do our introduce you to our first set of technical questions by leading you through a little exercise. We will do this in class, but you can also, I would totally recommend that you kind of try to do it before class so that you can get a little bit of a head start. Um, so I want to talk about this like fundamental piece of infrastructure that we rely very, very heavily on in this class. And whenever anybody does any programming to any significance, it's a tool called Git. You can think of Git as track changes on steroids. It is belongs to a class of software programs called version control software, but it is by far the best of these programs and the most widely used by an enormous magnitude. Git is essential infrastructure for basically any programming project of any significance. Um, when people say Git, they often mean the combination of Git, the underlying kind of plumbing, and GitHub, the code sharing website. It is the largest code sharing website in the history of programming. Since about a year and a half ago, it is owned by Microsoft, and it is the place where we work and where the vast majority of open source projects work. In our class this week, we will do a few things. We will have some fun practicing Git. We will give you an introduction to Git concepts, and we'll ensure that your setup is going well. And we'll also give an overview of the first assignment. Anyway, if you don't have a GitHub account yet, you should stop and get one now, and you will have had an announcement explaining how to do that. Okay, now that you have a GitHub account, let's talk about how to work in Git. So I'm going to introduce you to this tiny kind of dumb tool that I wrote a long time ago when I was first starting this class, but which is a tiny bit fun, and I like to use it in this class. It's a simple application. It started life as a command line application, and it now has a trivially stupid graphical interface. The contents of the application have been crowdsourced by students from this class from year to year. There are lots and lots of problems to fix, in part because it's been crowdsourced, and there are many improvements which one could make to it. And we will try to make some progress on some of those things. Okay, so you already have your laptop out, of course, because we are in COVID era. Let's take a look at this link, which you'll be able to follow along with on your in the kind of accessible version of this lecture. And let's take a look at what's called the repository, the Git repository. So if you follow the link, it will take you to this page. You will become very familiar with this layout. This is a GitHub layout, a GitHub repository layout. At the top, you have a bunch of tabs, which give you various information. What we're interested in right now is code. Code shows you an overview of the of all the files and directories or folders in the project, and then it shows you by default the README file, which has, in this case, a bunch of instructions. This might be a good moment to pause the video and take a look at the instructions. So having paused, let's take a quick look. So what did I say here that we want to do? Code issues, that's right. So here's the code. If we play around here a little bit, there's a bunch of stuff that we're not going to look at. Bin. We're not going to look at CSS for now. We're not going to look at lib for now. We are going to look at history. If we go into history, we see that there are 3 subdirectories, and we can see the path that we're on up here above. And in each of these subdirectories, there's a bunch of files. All of them end in the extension .md, which stands for Markdown, about which we will learn much more in this class. And if we were click on one of those files, we can take a quick look at the contents of the file, and we see that they're really just text, but that they have a little bit of funny annotation, which structures the appearance of the text when it is presented to us. And if we press the edit button on this one in particular, we'll see there's a whole bunch of stuff that's maybe a little bit harder to understand, in which when it's rendered, creates headlines, images, links, and other kinds of markup. So yeah, that's code. And then there are 2 other things that you are gonna need to know more about, and which you might want to stop for a second, play around with the code a little bit. But you want to look at issues, which is a list of suggestions for improvements to this repository. Some of them are things that I have suggested in late 2019. As it turns out, it seems like I haven't gotten around to fixing any of them. And some of them are, unfortunately, these are all things that some of them are suggestions for how the content should be improved. And if we look at the 3rd tab, pull requests, we can see that there are 10 open pull requests, and these are proposed amendments to the repository. And these have all been made by our by students, by your predecessors in this class. Some of them actually, 1 or 2 of them by just strangers who found the site and decided to contribute something. It was kind of fun. Such a dumb project. And if we click on one of these, we can see that there's a kind of complicated display which shows us what changes are being proposed for to the site. So we're going to use issues and pull requests quite a bit in this class, and so it's useful for you to know about them. They are also fundamental kind of workflows for all open source software projects, including many Visual Humanities projects. Okay. We will, I want to lead you through an activity that we're going to do in class, but I want you to see if you can kind of give it a go on your own. What we want to do is fix this project. You may be interested in trends, events, or people, although we really need trends and events more than people. Or you may be interested in copying the work that has already been done. And finally, you might be interested in sorting through the issues and giving them tags. But let's start by looking at the contributing instructions, how to participate. There's some explanations below about how to use the tool, but this is the main instructions for how things work. It's kind of much like what we just did. And it explains how to create a new file with the name of someone else, some new person or some new event or some new trend that is part of in Canadian history. And it explains, if you are bold, how you might actually use this tool. And we can take a quick look at how the tool works. I type history, please, and the tool gives me a very quick piece of Canadian history. And I forget, is that right? We don't have a lot of events, so the only event we really get is the First World War. I can also put trends and people. Okay. So that's one way to use the tool at the command line, and you will be seeing more of the command line in the future. And the other way to use the tool is in a graphical interface. And here we see a little bit of kind of random history being presented to us in this fairly hideous frame that I designed in 2016. So the cool thing about that is that all that content that you just saw scrolling through is not stuff that I've written, but that students have written. Right now, maybe what you want to do is take a look at this repository and see if there are improvements that you might want to make. You could make suggestions in the issues, or you could actually make some changes. Before you start contributing, you might want to take a look at the markdown instructions, what the syntax is for the instructions. Okay. Why don't we stop there, and maybe I will save this little bit of lecture for a later moment about how Git actually works, what it means to work with Git. Okay, and I'll